how you can live a better life abroad. I'm back, and here I live in France. I moved from Atlanta, Georgia a year ago. I'm here to tell you guys, no fluff, what you have to do and what you have to look at. First and foremost, cost of living, not what you make as a salary. Everyone keeps concentrating on their job and what they make as their salary in the United States. You need to take a look at the cost of living, many of which some of y'all are living above your means, but let's not go there. Your cost of living, which is your apartment, transportation, groceries, childcare, things that you have to have, not things that you want to have in order for you to live. So the cost of living in other countries is way less than the cost of living in the United States. For example, in France, it is 34% less to live in France than the United States. And let me just give you some examples. These figures are on an average, and these figures are for rent. So for instance, the average rent for one person, a single person in France, is $1,500 a month. Now, rent, depending on the country that you're going to, is going to be determined by many different factors, whether you're going to be within the main city or you're going to live a little bit out in the outskirts, just like in the United States. If you live downtown, it's going to be more expensive. If you live a little further out in the suburbs, it's going to be less expensive. At least that's the way it used to be. Also, it's going to take into consideration here, we don't have apartment complexes like they do in the United States. Most apartments are owned by individuals. That's who you are renting from. Or you may have an investor who may have 2 or 3 apartments, and you may go through an agency in order for you to rent from that person. Most of the rents here include most of the utilities. Some utilities may not be included. Most of the time, internet is not included. In my specific case, my rent does not include electricity or the internet, but water, garbage, anything else is included. And between my internet and my electricity, I'm paying $100 for those 2 things a month. So whether you're going to have a furnished or an unfurnished apartment. In France, you can get a furnished apartment, and that's going to be a little bit more expensive than if you get an unfurnished apartment, because then you'll be responsible for furnishing your own apartment. So, for example, $1,554 a month for a single person is what the average cost for an apartment here in France. A couple more figures. If you are a family, and the family may be 3 or 4 people, but the family usually will consist of maybe like a 3-bedroom, typically. In France, it's going to be $38.26 a month. That's if you're living in town. So just some of the differences is if you live in the city, the average is $1,554. Outside of the city, it could be $800. If you live in the city and you're a family, it could be $3,800 a month. If you live outside the city, it could be as little as $1,517 a month. Another country that's also inexpensive to live in, and that's Italy. Italy averages for a single person $1,405 a month. The average, again, for a single person in the United States is $2,317. And look, y'all, that's just depending on what city and what state you live in. It's probably more than that, but that's just an average that we're using just for demonstration purposes. I'm sure that it's much higher than that. In Spain, a single person would be $1,318. In Mexico, $911. So for those particular people, for families, again, if you're in Spain, if you're in the city, $3,000 a month. Italy, $1,279. Portugal, I didn't put that in. Portugal for a family, $2,247. For a single person, $1,238. Mexico, one person is $496, and a family would be $908. And those are all being in the city. So those prices would be cheaper if you choose to live outside of the city. So, again, utilities, daycare or preschool, and food expenses. The food expenses are somewhat on par, maybe just a little bit cheaper. But again, there are things that will have to be imported here. You're not going to be able to get everything that you get in the United States. And so you just have to learn to deal with that. And let's see what's more important, your happiness, being able to have money to do stuff and not working 100 zillion hours a week to try to make some bills that you still can't do anything afterwards, or not being able to get some items from the United States. You choose. Utilities for France, for one person, usually runs about 109 a month. Family, maybe 168. In Spain, $42 a month. Family, 65. Italy, 42, 65. Again, these are all the averages for these different countries. For those of you that keep asking me about preschool and daycare and kids, I ain't got no small kids, but here's some prices that I found for you guys. In France, average, and this is a month, you are talking about $693 compared to the United States, $1245. In Spain, $415. In Italy, $507. In Portugal, $372. And in Mexico, $252 a month. And that is compared to the quote-unquote average of $1245 a month in the U.S., which again, depending on the state and where you live, will probably be more than that. Food expenses, again, is going to be a little bit more expensive for certain things, but the average in France, and that includes also going out to eat, $522 a month. In Spain, $386 a month. Italy, $469 a month. Portugal, $321 a month. And Mexico, $355 a month. And this is comparing it to what they're saying the average in the U.S. is $589. But based on what I've been seeing, y'all paying way more than that. So again, when you are thinking about moving out of the United States, you have to look at the country you're interested in. You have to look at the cost of living, take that monthly cost of living, add a little extra so you can have a little extra something, and that's how you figure out what you would need to make to live comfortably and be able to live. And I guarantee you, in most of these countries, France, for instance, you can make $50,000 a year here and you will be doing really good. If you bring home $3,000 or $4,000 net a month, you will be living a very good life, which would also be able to free up some money for you if you want to travel, which again is so much easier to do over here. So if you guys want to, or if you're thinking about it, you want to know the steps, I do have a link in my bio for a how-to guide to successfully move to another country successfully. Please check out my profile and my other videos, and I will also come back and do videos about some other things people need to know or consider when moving abroad. But again, stop fooling yourself. You do not have to live in another country making $100,000. You can come over here. You don't have to even you can make half of that and you will live better than how you are living now in the United States, making that $100,000 a year. Because after you make all that shit, where is it going to? It's going to bills. It's going to debt. You're tired. You don't even feel like going anywhere. You may not be able to even travel. So stop looking at trying to have the same type of income that you have in the United States. The purpose is to move for a better life. So why would you want to move to work that much anyway or that hard in another country? That defeats the purpose. The purpose is to work less, is to be able to have money, pay your bills, and be able to also live your life. So again, these are things you need to consider. Videos will be coming up on some more information on what it's like to live abroad. No frills. This is the straight deal I'm talking about.